I thought I was trapped in the astral realm forever, never returning to Earth, never to see my family again. That night, I went to bed and I could feel this intense vibration coming over me. And that means I was going to make the transition from my physical body into my astral body. It just took over. I saw flashes of light, and the next thing I know, boom, I'm just in the astral realm at the front of a ship, a spaceship. And there was a whole bunch of other people around me, just like me. Everyone was confused and looking around and saying, "Where am I? What's going on? Where are we?" I noticed that there were crew members all around the ship, and they looked just like us, like humans. They were all wearing the same uniform, very nice. They were happy to see us. They were greeting us and, escorting us further into the ship. So they weren't being threatening, but I was trying to figure out what was going on. We were just kind of going through the motions. I couldn't make a run for it or escape. It was like we were zombies just following orders. But all the while, I knew I was somewhere else. I was separated from my body, and something was going on. They brought us in and sat us down at a table. There was food out in front of us, and I noticed some doors opened, and this man walked out, and he had a woman on each side of him, and he was this big presence. He was obviously a captain or their leader or someone really important. He was wearing a different color uniform as everyone else. He had a white suit on with a blue sash going across it, and he just welcome everyone. We're so glad to see you. We're excited to have you. We've been waiting for you. You're finally here. I noticed throughout this entire experience, they kept saying, "We've been waiting for you." Like they were genuinely happy that we're all here. And there was about 20 to 30 other people like myself that were just so confused. We're still looking around. People were still yelling, "Where am I? What's going on?" And this is when panic really started to set in, because I completely lost the connection with my physical body. Usually when I'm in the astral realm, I could feel my physical body and I could return to it at any point. But that night, I had lost complete control over the situation. I couldn't sense my physical body. I couldn't return to it no matter how hard I tried. And believe me, I tried hard. And it came over me, that feeling of dread of, oh my God, I can't return and I'm stuck here forever. And what am I going to do? I'm going to have to get used to this new life. Wherever I'm at, this is my new life. I was coming to terms with this idea in my mind. And then they took us to another part of the ship. There was these tables set up, and there were these iPad looking things on the table, and it had our name and our information, our personal information, our pictures and everything. And we had to go in a line around the tables and find our information and then put our hand on top of it. And once we did that, we had to go over to this other part of the ship where it looked like telephone booths set up. They weren't. They looked like futuristic telephone booths. That's just the best way I could explain it. And I was standing in line watching everyone go up to these booths, and they put their hand on the machine and then picked up a phone. And once they did that, they were transported to another part of the ship that was behind a wall. I knew that they were going behind this wall. I don't know what was happening behind that wall. I was just watching, standing in line. I was looking out one of the windows and I could see this big planet nearby. And suddenly the ship was attacked by a completely different group of interdimensional beings, and panic ensued. Everyone was running around. Things were crashing. It was scary. And I'm hiding, and I could see this planet outside the window, and it just suddenly imploded, completely imploded. And the force was so intense, it just boom, came right at the ship. And when it hit the ship, I could physically feel that force. And it was that force that set me back to my physical body. And I sat up in bed, just sweat pouring, my heart beating, and I was like, oh my God, am I here? Am I really here? Am I back? I was so relieved. Now, for the sake of a TikTok video, I really shortened up the story. But I write down every single experience that I've ever had, and I've documented every aspect of the ship that I could remember. I've drawn out pictures and documented everything. This planet that I saw outside of the window, I've seen this planet before in the astral realm on different occasions. This planet was obviously something very important. There was a reason why I was experiencing these things. Now, we live in a big universe. We're living multiple lives right now. We're in a multiverse. There's a lot going on. And we could get little snippets of these other lives, these alternate timelines. And we have to put together the clues to figure out what's really going on. And I never understood why I kept seeing this planet. But that night, I started to put together the puzzle pieces. It was such an intense experience. I immediately started looking for other people that were there with me. I remember faces and names, and I went on the internet looking around to see, does anyone remember this? Does anyone remember me? I remember the woman I was talking to the entire time. I could see her face perfectly to this day. And although this sounds crazy, I don't care if people believe me or not, because I know it's true. I know that these things are happening to people. I know that other people are experiencing the same things, and it's important to share this information. And that's what I'm doing. I'm doing my best to put this information out there because you're not alone. People are always looking up to the skies, trying to catch a glimpse of UFOs. But is this really the best chance of getting a glimpse of an alien? You might get lucky and see one in the sky or coming out of the ocean, but your best chance for actually seeing a real-life alien is in the astral realm. This is where most alien contacts actually occur. Every night when we fall asleep, we travel through the different dimensions, and this is where interdimensional aliens live, and we can actually interact with them. We can also consciously astral project and be in control of where we travel through the astral realms, and we may contact aliens this way too. Whether you want to see an alien or not, your best chances for actually seeing and meeting one are in the astral realm. To learn how to astral project, follow me now at Astral. When we astral project, we can run into a lot of different entities in the different astral planes. And in this video, I really want to discuss my experience with gray aliens in the astral realm. The first time I had an encounter with a gray alien was back in 2015. I was laying in bed, and all of a sudden my astral body just came up out of my physical body and was heading out towards the window. There was this huge spacecraft just like in the street next to my house, hovering above my house. It was a saucer-like ship, and it had lights coming down everywhere, but I was being taken against my will up into the ship. And I did not see any actual aliens, so I don't know for a fact that it was the Greys. I just have this belief within me that it was gray aliens. I freaked out and I was like, no, don't take me, I can't, no. And the closer I got to the ship, the more I freaked out, until eventually I was just boom, slammed back into my physical body. And I woke up, I got up out of bed, and I looked outside immediately. I did not see anything, but I was like checking myself, and it was really disturbing for me because I was being taken against my will. About a week later, I was astral projecting around my house, and I went in the back of my house, and there was a bunch of windows. I looked out the window and I saw a gray alien just staring at me. It was what a typical gray alien looks like, with like the diamond-shaped bulbous head and the almond eyes. There was no positive energy, there was no negative energy, and the moment I saw it and looked at it, I freaked out again and boom, got sent right back to my body. August 8th, 2021. What happened this night was so disturbing. I literally think about it every day. At least once a day, I'll think about it and go, ooh, oh God, that was awful. Like it's really traumatic for me to think about and to talk about, but I'm hoping this video helps someone out. I went to bed and I was really open to astral projecting, and I was taken up Like a force just boom, like sucked me way up into the universe. And I had no control over it. I was just being taken. And I stopped somewhere out in space and I could hear a humming of a ship. And I realized that I was like frozen in place. I couldn't look around or move or anything. I was just frozen. I can hear this humming, something like an engine, like just a as if I were in something. I was really curious. I was a little bit frightened, but I was really curious. I was like, what's going on here? And as I looked out into space, I noticed on my left hand side, it looked like spider webs, like veins going out in all of these different directions. And then on the other side, it looked like reptilian eggs or shark eggs, like these long oblong structures that were orange in color, and they were just on each side, just huge, massive structures. And as I was looking at these things with curiosity, like what's going on here, I could still hear the humming of like some kind of engine. And all of a sudden, I was just being taken down. And it felt like I was being taken down below Earth's surface. But I don't know for a fact. The first thing I saw, a building. I was like right in front of this building and it had all these different layers. And I could just hear the engine just going down. I saw rows and rows and rows of gray aliens' bodies just hanging there. Like totally lifeless. They were being hung up from something from the ceiling, but the bodies were just hanging lifeless. Their eyes had like a reddish glow tint to them. And I got the impression that these were just robotic bodies waiting to be activated. And this is when I really started to freak out. I was like, oh my goodness, like, oh. But I was also curious because it's like, wow, I've never seen anything like this before. Like, what the hell is going on? Like, oh, I'm scared, but I also want to know what's going on. So when I got to the bottom of this structure, this giant warehouse, building, whatever it was, I started to move backwards. So it was just like, and my view was getting further and further away. And then I started to move to the left and I could see this walkway in front of me. And in the distance, like, I could see this one-story building. I had doors in front of it. And in front of those doors were 4 guards. And it was a gray alien, a different alien, a gray alien, and then the different alien. The 2 non-gray aliens, they were short. Like the grays were like really short. They looked to be about, I don't know, 4 feet tall or so. They were like really small. And the other aliens next to them were also very small, but they had like a roundish body that was completely hairy. Now, they did not look like Bigfoot. It was like these round, hairy, shaggy bodies. I could not see any facial features. They had something going across that looked like something for weapons. And all 4 of the aliens were carrying some sort of weapon. Like they were standing like soldiers, just like standing like this. I could not tell what the weapon looked like. And then they had this thing going across their bodies, like soldiers that would back in the day were like those leather straps with like bullets in them. That's what it looked like. Now, I'm not saying that's what they were. And then it started taking me slowly right to them, right to these 4 aliens. And I started to freak out. I just seen like these hanging deactivated alien bodies, and now I see aliens in front of me, and I had some moment of clarity where I thought, oh, maybe I should just see, like maybe I should figure out what's going on. But the fear took over me. So as I'm approaching them very slowly, I was freaking out and trying to get back to my body. And I could not get back to my body. I was like, come on, let's go. I don't want this. I don't want this. I got to get out of here. I got to get out of here. And the aliens in front of me, they weren't moving. They were just very still, just like almost like statues. There was no positive energy. nor negative energy. It was very serious. It didn't feel like a positive experience. It did not feel like they were going to welcome me. Like, oh, hey friend, like let's come hang out. No, that was not the impression I got at all. It was just very, very serious. Did they come at me like they were going to attack me? No. But I was just so freaked out. I kept trying to get back to my body, and the closer and closer I got to them, eventually, at one moment, I was just like, I have to get back. I have to go. I don't want this. Just, oh, like with all of my might, all of my force, I just put into this. And boom, I was sent back to my body. And I just jumped out of bed. And I started checking myself. I was like, what just happened? Like, oh my goodness, did they take me? Did they put something in me? Am I still over there and I don't know it? Were they going to put me in those like, just freaking out. Now that I've had time to calm down and think about it, I still don't know why I was taken there, why I was shown those things. I don't know what was going on. If you've had an experience like this, please reach out and let me know, because I am really curious about this. I have all these theories and ideas, but I don't know anything for certain. I felt like I was being taken against my will, and I don't know what would have happened had I not gone back to my body. So if you've experienced anything like this, comment down below. Please let me know. And for more videos like this, how to astral project, shadow people, aliens, so much more, be sure to follow me at Astral K.
And now back to my astral abduction experiences. And as I mentioned, it felt very much like living two separate lives at once for several years. And the first memories I have are still like me in my crib, so very, very young. And it happened very frequently that I was taken to a ship at night. And it seemed to mostly be the same ship with the same beings, at least in this chapter, from when I was a baby until, like I said, like 5, 6, maximum 7 years old. Excuse me. And the beings were really tall, and they had blue skin, and they wore robes that were also white or blue. And their features were actually very human, but maybe like slightly elvish. They were actually very, like I would say they were beautiful. And the ship also had a lot of blue and white. And like the image I remember the best of the ship is when I looked to the front. In the front there were like many, many screens, and on the right side there were either windows or screens that looked like windows, and then there was like a children or school area on the left. And there was one being that felt very familiar, so I wasn't scared of them. And this one female being, she almost felt like a mother, and we deeply bonded. And she seemed to somehow be, at least to some degree, in charge of this place. And there were also other children on the ship, and we were given exercises, or we were asked questions, and it felt like being tested. And I remember being told that I did well most of the times. And most of these exercises, when I think back, it really feels like we were trained, or we were learning about how to act human. And I know it sounds really strange, but this is how it feels. It was like we were trained to behave like human children on Earth. And I was good at it. And I remember this one exercise where it was on a screen, and I feel like it was a holographic screen with images. And I remember the images. There was an image of a house, of a man, of a tree, of a boy, of a dog, and a ball. And we had to, or I was supposed to like connect two images with each other. And I connected the boy with the tree and the dog with the ball. And one of the male blue beings came up and asked me why I did that and told me that that wasn't quite right. And I said that I wasn't so sure about that one, but I made the choice because dogs do love to play with balls, and boys or children like to play outside and climb trees. And the being hesitated for a moment and talked with another one for a moment, and they let my answer pass. And I must have been like maybe 3 years old, but I still remember this very vividly. And another time, I was in a room with a younger boy, and the boy must have been like, I don't know, maybe roughly 2 years old. And I remember that he wore a shirt that had red and white stripes. And I had some exercises in front of me once again on the screen. And there was a gray alien standing in the corner, or in the corner. It wasn't really a corner, but it was like one end of the room. So I was here, and on the right side was a door or an exit. And on the other side was this gray alien standing there. He was holding something in his hands. I don't know if it was a screen or something else, but it looked like he was either reading or taking notes or something like that, and also just observing me and the boy and watching over us. And the boy started crying like really hard and calling for his mom. And so I went over to him and started, I tried to soothe him, and I told him, hey, it's okay. You're gonna be with your mom soon again. We will be home and with our moms very soon again. You don't have to be scared. And I picked up some toys that were laying around him and just tried to distract him. And one of the male beings came in and asked me what I was doing and why I wasn't doing my exercises like I was told. They were really strict, especially him. And he told me to get back to my exercise and leave the boy because this is not my job. And I don't clearly remember if I actually said to him that I can't concentrate when the boy is next to me and feeling alone and scared, or if I only wanted to say that. But the male blue being turned to the gray alien and told him to make the boy stop crying. And the gray asked him, how? What am I supposed to do? And the blue being told him, I don't know, do what she did. And he pointed towards me. And I remember the gray alien just looking at me and then walking towards the boy and kneeling down and very much imitating just what I was doing. And it looked so funny because I was standing behind my screen again and looked over to them, and I saw the gray from behind. And he was with the boy, like kneeled down, and he made these really funny movements and noises like but I was okay with that because I felt like, okay, now the baby's taken care of, now I can concentrate on my exercises. And I could hear a conversation in the background of the male and the female being about if I should be punished for not doing what I was told. And this was like a panic moment for me. I can remember that my heart really started beating fast. But the female being said, no, let her continue. She didn't mean to disobey. She just, she's sensitive and empathic and just felt the boy's pain and wanted to help. And by the way, it's actually your responsibility to keep the children undistracted, or was something along these lines. And he said something like, yeah, okay, it's okay for this time, but we can't have children that just, do whatever they want and run around and maybe push some buttons or something. And yeah, as I already mentioned, they were really strict, and they did have a device to even punish someone. And I believe, I believe that there was also something to reward someone, but I don't really remember that. But I very much remember this device that was used to punish people, or yeah, all kinds of beings. And it looked like a round platform that one stands on, and then when someone stood on it, it was like activated and it turned red, and there was like this beam that was like a force field at the same time, like shooting upwards. And I witnessed someone being punished once, and I feel like it looked like an insectoid being, but I'm not entirely sure. I saw it from behind and it did have wings and it was brown. Reminded me of a cockroach or something. And this thing was activated, and even just standing near it, like the feeling was so bad. It was like being electrified and burned and like fried all at the same time. And I don't actually believe that it was physically harming, but it created the feeling. Also, I'm not sure if it made a sound or not, but it was just horrible to witness that. And I was really scared of this thing. And around this time, my parents and I used to live in Spain, and I went to sort of a preschool or pre-kindergarten there. And one day they wanted to measure our weight and brought a scale that everyone was supposed to stand on. And it was a round platform that turned red while standing on it. And when I saw this, I had like a PTSD reaction. I ran off and hid in a corner, and the teacher came up to me to check on me and asked me what I'm so afraid of. And I told her that I don't want to stand on this thing, that I know that it gets hot and it's painful to stand on it. And she looked at me confused and told me that it's only a scale. And she told me to, just take my hand and come with me and I'll show you. We can watch the other children standing on it so you can see for yourself that nothing happens. And so I did, and I watched the other children. But when it was my turn, I ran off again and hid in my corner again. And I didn't leave my hiding spot until the scale left the building. Yeah. But actually, I don't really remember having any like negative experiences on the ship or with the beings. It was just this device that really, really scared me. And I remember this one night when I was brought back home, I was told that it was the last time and that they wouldn't return to come get me anymore. And I came to in my little bed, and I was just so overwhelmed by sadness, and I felt like abandoned, like now they are just done with me in a way. But this one female being that I bonded with, she found a way to kind of return, but it wasn't on the ship anymore. So it was in a world, or maybe it was even just an artificially created like hologram environment, but it felt and looked very real. And it was actually beautiful and vibrant. There was this structure that looked like quite a large platform with a roof supported by 4 pillars, and everything was made of this white stone, and it was beautifully overgrown with these plants with small shiny leaves that were hanging down. And all the structures there, the stairs, some statues, and there was a fountain, and everything was just artfully carved and made of this white stone. And the vegetation and the water, they were like so full of life that everything looked just shimmery and sparkly and bubbly and just magical. And this being, she arrived there and she greeted me. But very soon she told me that we were actually not allowed to meet anymore and that we will have to say goodbye. And I asked her why so many times, but she just didn't tell me. She just said, look, that's just how it is now. That's the rules. And I could tell that something was going on and something was bothering her, but she just wouldn't tell me. And the last time that we met there, I think we met like 3 or 4 times there after this. And once was the last time. And I remember that we held hands and we both cried, and she told me that, yeah, we're not going to meet again. And then I woke up back on Earth and just, you know, once again, like extremely heartbroken and overwhelmed and confused. And yeah, this was the first chapter of regular abductions in my childhood. And the second chapter with completely other beings and other experiences began at, I believe, around 7 and lasted until I was about 12 or 13. And I will share that with you in the second part, because otherwise it's going to get a little bit long.